Life can often feel unpredictable and overwhelming. There are moments when it seems like the pieces just don't fit and the road ahead looks uncertain. But in those moments, I want you to pause and remember this simple truth. God has a plan for your life. His plan is not random or incomplete. It is perfect, intentional, and full of hope. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. That's Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. Isn't that a comforting promise? God's plans are rooted in his love for you. They're not meant to confuse or hurt you, but to lead you toward a future filled with hope. Even when life feels chaotic, God's hand is steady and his purpose is unwavering. But let's be real. Trusting God's plan isn't always easy, especially when things don't go the way we'd hoped. Maybe you're facing a season of waiting, disappointment, or uncertainty. You might wonder, God, what are you doing in my life right now? If you've ever felt that way, you're not alone. Even some of the greatest heroes in the Bible wrestled with this. Take Joseph, for example. As a young man, he had dreams of greatness, but his life took a very different turn. He was sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused and thrown into prison. It would have been easy for Joseph to give up and believe that God had abandoned him, but Joseph clung to God's promises, and in time, he saw God's plan unfold. As it says in Genesis chapter 50, verse 20, Joseph told his brothers, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." What a powerful reminder that even in the darkest moments, God's plan is still at work. So, how do you embrace God's plan for your life, especially when it doesn't make sense? Start by trusting in his character. God is faithful, and he never breaks his promises. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." This verse invites you to release control and trust that God's perspective is far greater than yours. It's not about understanding every detail of his plan, but about trusting the one who holds your life in his hands. Another way to embrace God's plan is to stay rooted in his word. The Bible is full of guidance, encouragement, and reminders of God's faithfulness. Psalm chapter 119, verse 105 says, "Your word is a lamp for my feet, a light on my path." When you spend time in Scripture, you allow God to guide your steps and give you clarity, even when the path ahead is uncertain. Let me share a practical analogy. Imagine you're driving at night with your headlights on. The lights don't show you the entire road ahead. They only illuminate a few meters at a time. But as you keep moving forward, the next part of the road becomes clear. That's how God often reveals his plan, one step at a time. It's an invitation to trust him daily, knowing that he sees the whole picture, even when you can't. Now let's talk about patience, because waiting is often a big part of embracing God's plan. Waiting can feel frustrating, but it's not wasted time. Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31 says, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." Waiting on God strengthens your faith and prepares you for the blessings he has in store. It's during these seasons of waiting that God often does his deepest work in your heart. Think about a seed planted in the ground. For a while, it seems like nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, roots are growing and preparing to support the plant. In the same way, God is working behind the scenes in your life, even when you can't see it. Trust the process, because God's timing is always perfect. Another key to embracing God's plan is to surrender your own plans to him. This doesn't mean giving up on your dreams, but aligning them with God's will. Jesus is our greatest example of surrender. In the Garden of Gethsemane, as he faced the cross, he prayed, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." That's Luke chapter 22, verse 42. Surrendering to God's plan isn't always easy, but it's always worth it, because his ways are higher than ours. Let's also talk about community. Surround yourself with people who encourage your faith and remind you of God's promises. Hebrews chapter 10, verses 24 and 25 says, "And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching." Community helps you stay focused on God's plan, especially during challenging times. Finally, remember that God's plan is ultimately for His glory and your good. Romans chapter 8, verse 28 reminds us, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." This verse doesn't mean that everything in life will be easy, but it assures us that God can use even the hardest moments for good. When you trust His plan, you can face life's challenges with confidence, knowing that He is with you every step of the way. So today, I want to encourage you to take a step of faith. Trust that God's plan for your life is good, even if you don't have all the answers right now. Spend time in His Word, surrender your plans to Him, and surround yourself with a community of believers. Remember, God is faithful, and He will never leave you or forsake you. Embracing God's plan is a journey of trust, patience, and surrender. But as you walk with Him, you'll discover a peace that surpasses all understanding and a hope that anchors your soul. Keep trusting, keep believing, and keep moving forward because God's plans for you are greater than you can imagine. Stay blessed.